What are some things you look for in a woman?
Yeah, so there's a few things. Number one, just being somewhat faith-based. I'm not looking for you guys to be saints by no means. I'm not perfect, but even just a mustard seed of faith is enough. Number two, chemistry, compatibility. Like, listen, if we're not vibing, pop the balloon. Absolutely.
All
Thank you.
right.
You got to be able to
Immediately.
compliment me, and I have to be able to compliment you.
Immediately.
Straight up.
Okay.
Three, I want someone who's like a nurturer. Maybe a better way of saying it is someone who has like motherly instincts. Because for me, I want to be a father one day. I want to have a lot of kids. Yeah, get rid of it. Okay. Yeah, I want to be a father one day. I want to have kids. So I definitely want to be with a woman who also wants to have a strong family. You know what I mean?
Man, life happens fast. I'll tell you that much. You know, one day you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're crawling. Then you're walking. Then you're running. Then you're, chilling with friends that you made during the time you were in daycare, and then elementary, then high school, then college or university. I think in life there's so many stages that a person goes through, and it's quite interesting because I think we don't really acknowledge those times that those stages make those changes until we're about 10, I think, personally. I think 10 is when you're consciously aware. 10 to 15 is when you're consciously aware of the changes that you're making. Because prior to that, when you're a kid, you're just living for living's sake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your parents are the center of the universe. You know, you listen to your teachers. You don't really know what's going on. You're just kind of going with the flow.
Yeah.
But you start to develop your personality. I personally think when you have that freedom of choosing your friends and who you're trying to hang out with and who you're not trying to hang out with, I'd say 10. And then going forward, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, when you're forming your personality, I mean, it comes when you're young, but by the time you're 10 and you're in an interactive environment, then I think that's when the personality starts to show. I think that's when you pick up on things and you start to, either imitate or follow people's patternings, even the way they talk, the way they walk, the way they dress. You start to be conscious of those things. So I think from those stages, you're kind of forming a little bit of your personality. If you notice, a lot of young kids in that age range, they're always like using new words, new slangs, new this, they're always, because they're trying to be intertwined with what's going on and develop with it. That's why most kids will be similar. If you see them, like you'll see the development, things they do, it's very similar to one another. But just speaking on that, just like age and all that type of stuff, I know with you, your birthday just hit. And just speaking on, getting to a certain age, because I know we're talking about the younger stages in life, but how about the older stages? I think a lot of men don't really talk about age. I think men don't really have the same issues that women face when it comes to age. So a lot of guys might not really discuss the differences that occur in your life when you reach a certain point, especially when you get older, when you're 30 plus, 35 plus, approaching 40. Those type of things are big differences and major changes in your life compared to when you're, I'd say, so for example, the difference from being 30 to 35 is much different than being 20 to 30, in my opinion, right? I think that you have to think of different things because your life is going forward. So what's your thoughts on just, reaching a certain age and being comfortable with your age? What's your thoughts on that? Just because age, when it comes to aging, it's usually a negative on most people. So what's your thoughts on, your life, just you with aging? What's your thoughts on it?
I think we all go through a transitional period, especially once you pass your teens and you get to your 20s. A lot of times people tend to do, there's multiple things that people tend to do. One would be either go to university or college, and within the university and college campuses, they're partying or they're studying, they're very studious, they're trying to get to that next level, becoming something great. It could be either an architect or a doctor, or a lawyer, an engineer, or something of that sort. And in that time period, you form friendships and you kind of develop your character. Some people go overseas, they do a gap year and they go overseas and live there for a year. Some people go backpacking. Some people, backpack in Asia. Some people just go around Europe and do a Euro trip. So there's multiple avenues you can go through when you're in your 20s. I did traveled in Asia, stayed there for a while. So that was mid-20s for me. And I would say now that I'm in my mid-30s, I would say a lot has changed from 25 to 35. I think the biggest difference would be being more conscientious about your health. I think that is one of the biggest takeaways that I've taken from that 10-year tender. The fact that I'm not going to say that at 25 I was completely neglecting my health, but I was more gung-ho about partying and drinking and having a good time and, going from place to place.
YOLO.
Yes, exactly, YOLO. And not saying YOLO's still not a thing, but I think it's just evolved to another stage where you still want to enjoy the finer things in life, but instead of you going to pop bottles, your relaxation is getting a massage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Smelling the aroma in the air,
But do you think you're subjected to that? Because I've seen a lot of guys that are older, even far older than you, that still live like they're in their 20s. They behave like they're in their 20s. Their energy is like they're in their 20s. They party like they're in their 20s. They're stuck in the loop of them being a lot younger than their age perceives. But is age a mentality thing, or is age what you make it? Because, some people are older, but they do all the stuff they did back in their 20s.
So I'll tell you exactly what happens with individuals like that. They are chasing youth. You know what I mean? So as the stages continue to, it's almost seeing a guy in high school, right? You go to grade 9 to grade 12. But some people, once grade 12 hits, it's time to go. Some people don't want to go, so they'll stay an extra year, right? And if you were allowed to stay even more than an extra year, people would do that.
Yeah.
Because they're scared of the world outside of the high school boundaries, right? So when you see guys that are in their 30s and they're doing their thing, but they keep backtracking and they're doing certain things that you would see a 20-year-old do, it's because they're chasing that level of youth. But as you age, other avenues open up to you at the same time. So you could live a better and more healthier lifestyle in terms of just making sure, you're getting the right amount of sleep, making sure your body's mobile, just keeping active, because you need to think about the future beyond 35 onwards. And I think a lot of guys don't want to think about that level, that future.
Okay.
Because they're in their head, they're saying there's nothing there. Everything that I thought was enjoyable was down here.
That's true.
So that fear of going on and transcending to the next level is what's stopping people in their tracks. And they're just like, you know what? I'm going to move back. I don't want to really worry about what's going on in 40 or 45 or 50. Like I would say it can become depressing as you get older, depending on how you look at it, how you frame it in your mind.
It's interesting just because I know, like, from my own personal experiences, I've met people that obviously are older and they have children too that are older as well, and they still will live their life, as a younger person. Even me, I'm not that what I wouldn't consider myself old, but I'm definitely not in my 20s, right? So when I see someone even older than me having more of like, more of an idea, oh, let's go here, let's go party, let's go do this, let's go do that, I'm always lost. I'm like, you're still on that type of time? Like, I'm just trying to figure it out. Because at my age, you know, sometimes I feel tired already. Not to age myself,
Yeah.
but like sometimes I'm like, I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
You know, I already seen this, already went to the clubs, already popped the bottles. Like, I think with age, it's just you've done stuff before. So you're like tired of the same old, right? So you're trying to transition to, I think that's what happens as you get older. It's just that you're tired of the same old. You don't want to, you know, live your life on a loop. So eventually you say to yourself, maybe I should look into different interests. Maybe I should get different hobbies. Maybe I should hang out with different people that have different like interests as well, just to open up your mind. Because I guess when you get older, you start to realize how much limitations you had when you're younger.
Yes.
Because you're limited by your environment when you're younger, right? When you're older, you have the resources to change your environment.
Or even try new things, right?
Well, that's the thing.
Yes.
You have the opportunity to change your environment. You're no longer subjected to where you were born or what family raised you. It's not up to you to, you know, create your own future. So I think as you get older, that realization becomes more real to you. You start to become aware of the fact that you're going to have to create a life for yourself, right? So I think when you have to create a life for yourself, you start to be a little bit more intentional with every single action. You start to think to yourself, oh, if I do this, what's the long-term outcome of it?
Yes.
And then so you have to think of those things just because you know your future's on the line. You're getting close to the finish line. Not to say that finish line's near, but you already lived more than half of your life, like at least, right?
At least, yeah.
You know, you're close to the halfway stage.
I would say you're at the halfway point. You're about that.
You're about at the halfway stage. So with that being said, I think people understand that, you know, at one point or another with age, you're going to have to start, you know, making more serious decisions for the future that comes after that.
I like how you said that because that's going to segue us to Pop the Balloon or Find Love.
Yes, sir. You know us. We always got to bring the dating in, too.
Exactly, right? Because talking about getting to certain stages of life, you got to kind of know what it is that you want in your future.
Absolutely.
Right?
You got to be clear.
And you got to be clear, you got to be direct, and you got to make sure that you're hitting your targets. And if the targets aren't being hit, you got to keep aiming.
That's it.
And training.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get into it. See what Papa Balloon has to say about this.
Exactly.
Welcome in. What's your name?
My name is Trey, and I'm 27.
All right. Trey, what do you do?
Yeah, so I do a couple things. I work for a project consulting company.
Okay.
And I operate as an owner's rep project manager on behalf of a tech company working in like critical environments.
Nice. Very nice.
Not sexy.
Now, what are some things you like to do for fun?
Yeah, so I do a few things. Right now I'm leading a book club. That's a ton of fun. So I do a lot of reading.
All right.
Love to salsa.
Okay.
Got to. What else? I'm really passionate about mentorship with like the youth as well.
Nice.
I love wine, so I do like wine reviews.
Ooh.
That's fun. I feel like I'm missing something, Arlette.
What you missing? You tell us. What are some things you look for in a woman?
Yeah, so there's a few things. Number one, just being somewhat faith-based. I'm not looking for you guys to be saints by no means. I'm not perfect, but even just a mustard seed of faith is enough. Number two, chemistry, compatibility. Like, listen, if we're not vibing, pop the balloon. Absolutely.
All right.
You got to be able, straight up.
Okay.
Three, I want someone who's like a nurturer. Maybe a better way of saying it is someone who has like motherly instincts. Because for me, I want to be a father one day. I want to have a lot of kids. Yeah, get rid of it. Okay. Yeah, I want to be a father one day, want to have kids. So I definitely want to be with a woman who also wants to have strong family. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Number four is intellect, being cerebral. Like, listen, if we're going to be life partners, I'm going to know you for a long time. I can be physically stimulated by a woman. Like, that's basically all men. But what I desire is to be intellectually, right? If we're going to be best friends for a long time, need to be able to have deep, complex conversations about a wide variety of things. And then lastly, this is just a bonus, but humor. Like, I feel like I'm absolutely. I feel like I'm
got him.
I don't know, quirky guy. I like to have fun, be playful.
Okay,
so if
we
you
can
can match
stop
that
right there.
with a bit of banter, like.
So, as we can see, this gentleman came in there completely intentional. Women always talk about how they want intentional men. They want to know if this man can lead, if they have a direction, and if they know what they want. This man has shown it all.
Yep.
He put all his cards on the table. He said exactly what he wanted. If you don't like what he's saying, pop the balloon. And 2 girls popped. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, like you said, a lot of the conversation here today on the internet, especially, is intentions, having intentional relationships,
Yes.
right? Obviously, dating to marry. That's, I think, what they mean by intentional, or dating for the right reason, right? Because you actually mess with that person and you want to grow with them.
Yeah.
This gentleman said everything he wanted and everything he didn't want. So obviously, he put it on the table, and I think a lot of the times men are shamed for that. We talked about men having preferences and stuff like that. He didn't say preferences per se, but probably, obviously.
He did say his preferences. He said what he wanted from a woman.
But he didn't say his preference in terms of like maybe physical preference.
Yeah, he didn't say that yet.
He didn't get to the physical preference. Yeah, exactly. So I think everything he said is right. And I think most men that are listening to this, they're going to have to stand on their square if they want what it is, you know, what it is they're looking for. If they don't express that or don't know how to articulate that, too many times men fall short. And then they realize maybe a woman they're with lacks the qualities of, you know, a woman that they truly desire, because they don't know how to articulate what they do desire. So I think that's a big thing. He knows how to articulate what he desires, so he has a higher % chance to find what he wants, because he at least has a little bit of a rubric.
Yeah, so he has a rubric, and also he's well put together.
Yes. Everything has to make sense. So he
everything's
has
matching up.
he has to be the guy. He has to be the guy to command, I mean, those type of things.
Well, command what he wants. Yes.
Exactly. So, like, hopefully he looks like a successful dude. Looks like he's doing decent. So
let's see what's going on next.
Well, I mean, even with him coming out, also we have to look at the fact that, you know, a lot of women are gonna do things based on attraction.
Yeah.
So they didn't pop on him because obviously he was groomed.
So now we're gonna see on the next part, which is gonna be at the 8-minute mark, 8:05. Let's see how that.
Because no, that's what I was talking about. I said, but attraction always gonna have to play a role. I don't think, you know, everyone can do what he did and lay it out like that.
Oh no, 100%. A lot of people aren't as articulate.
But it is a show. It is a show. So obviously, it's a little bit of a different circumstance, because in real life, how would you express that to someone? Like what you want out of a woman? Like, how would you have that conversation?
That's what makes this show very interesting, because people don't typically have the opportunity to say what it is that they want out of a woman. Mm-hmm. Even if you're going on multiple dates, most of the time you're not gonna say exactly what you want, because it's not an interview. Mm-hmm. You're talking to a human being.
And sometime before you even get to that point, I mean, sex already is on the table, right?
Exactly.
So you didn't even get to the point of figuring out what it is or who it is you are dealing with.
Yeah.
And when sex is on the table,
I'm 24.
Sometimes that makes
And Sade, what do you
harder.
do?
And I'm an esthetician.
Okay. And why did you end up popping your balloon?
He mentioned someone who has humor. I don't think I'm very funny.
Okay.
But something nice. I like the cross and first impression, a good style.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
So you want someone that's also funny as well? Is that what you meant by humor, or like they just have a sense of humor, like they can laugh?
Well, I
at
said
stuff?
it's a bonus. You know what I mean? So, but no worries. I mean, I want someone who I can go out, have some fun with, you know, life of the party per se.
Okay.
It's cool.
Right. So is she someone that's your type?
Not really, to be honest.
Okay. And why not?
The face is a bit wrinkly for me.
You know when they say stuff like that.
Let's go over here. Let's get your name and age.
Damn. Hi, my name's Hodger.
And this
I'm
girl
25 years old.
Okay.
Hodger,
Hodger, what do you do?
I'm a nail technician.
Okay. And why did you end up popping your balloon?
I know that we're honest on this show, but I do feel like there's a little bit of grace, or maybe just like some way where you can say things without being maybe incredibly specific about physical features. I mean, if you're comfortable with that, then that's definitely okay, but I just wouldn't prefer that in a man myself. I always feel like in a society where maybe like things are normal, like this show, like saying things about somebody's physical feature, I think other people might feel comfortable. If you prioritize kindness, then that's still always gonna come first, and that's a first for me. So, but you are super handsome. I love your fit. I love
Thank
the
you.
neutrals. I literally stayed up until that moment too. I think you're super cool and great, but
appreciate
it was
it.
just that comment. I just can't.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
fair
stop
enough.
it here because we don't
No.
even necessarily need to hear what the guy's gonna say to rebuttal that, but what he's basically gonna say is that you guys want direct, I'm giving you direct, and sometimes I'm too direct for my own good. He is a guy that knows what he wants and he's gonna say what he wants. And if you're not it, he will make sure to let you know that you're not it. And that's how you get what you want in life.
I guess there's two sides to this. I think there's two sides to this because I think people think when you say the truth, depending on how you say the truth, it can come across as being disrespectful, being insensitive, being too honest, right? Like being a little too honest. And
It's subjective to the individual.
yes, and I understand like in certain circumstances you have to control
Yes.
the way you talk. You're gonna have to have some sort of tact. But in this situation, he has no ties to this woman. So he doesn't have to be tactful with how he's speaking. He just needs to be direct because it is a show. And he's just going to say what it is. He's not concerned, or he shouldn't be concerned about his answers putting off other people, especially if he's just being honest. And obviously that offended the woman next to that girl. And she's like, oh, I think the thing is you have to lead with kindness. I like a guy to lead with kindness. I know it's a show, but you shouldn't specifically point out whatever features. Obviously, this show, everyone points out features because the woman asked them, to elaborate on the fact of why they don't like somebody.
So is it the fault of the guest that's coming in there that's choosing the woman, or
no? I think
to the host?
To be fair, I think no other woman felt that way. The issue was with the woman that felt that way because I don't think the other women popped because of those comments.
no other woman.
So the
popped
other
because
girl
of that.
personalized it and figured, okay, this guy's a mean guy. He's just gonna say whatever he wants to say. But she said she understood what platform they're on and that people do this. Yet she still said, "But I expect you to come with some kindness." They
always say that.
And
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of people that say that. There's a common thing they'll say. So before they insult you, they'll always say something good.
Yeah, you say something positive first.
You say something positive, and then they'll go on to insult you. In hers, it was in reverse, where it's like, I understand what platform you're on, but then she goes back
to say
and kind of retracts what she just said. Right? It's like she wanted to make sure that he wanted him to know that the message that he was saying, she understood it, but the way he came across that message, the way she interpreted it wasn't sitting well with her.
Well, I think she doesn't want a direct man. She wants a man that's gonna sugarcoat the scenario.
But most women want a panderer. And I think
a lot of women in their head, they want somebody to agree with stuff of this nature, like kindness and thoughtfulness and stuff like that. I think they want you to agree on certain sentiments, especially when it comes to like
but
morality, certain morals and certain stuff. But at the same time, this is my thought on the whole thing.
But does that make you a pushover?
But this is what I was gonna say. With men and women, I just think that they behave differently. Like I think men don't have there's some men that can exhibit the same kindness as women, but I think it's more innate for women to have that type of kindness compared to men, just in our society.
Yes.
Just with the fact that they're the ones that are nurturers.
Yes.
They're more suited for that type of kindness and that. And you know how traditional families are. She's East African.
Yes.
I already know how their parents are giving it up. Like, you're going to be more traditional based. But she seems like she's actually more liberal, surprisingly, because the way
she grew up in the U.S.
The way she responded to the scenario, like, again, it's a show. You have to understand it's a show, and you can't go off of what someone else or what an answer is to someone else's question. Because the fact of the matter, what people don't understand with like these type of shows is that they'll never be in these type of circumstances to have these type of opinions. So whatever character you see here, how would you see it if you're dating them?
In reality,
they would never portray these type of traits because they wouldn't be openly dating or trying to find someone they want to date. They're trying to be intentional. It's not for the sake of being offensive. It's for the sake of telling people what it is, because at the end of the day, he has nothing to do with this girl. When she leaves, she goes her own way. When he leaves, he goes his own way. And he chooses whichever woman or she, you get what I mean?
And again, Arlette asked him the question, what is it that you don't like about this woman? Because he first initially just said, I just don't find her attractive. And then Arlette doubled down and said,
what about her?
Yeah, what is it that you don't like about her? Well, since you asked, let me let you know.
But I think, but you know.
What are we doing?
But yeah, like, I mean.
Hello.
I'm just telling you in a scenario, like say guys were in a lineup, this just tells you how women think very differently than men. If guys were in a lineup, and we've seen it before, and there's a guy that has physical features that aren't appealing to the woman, and she points it out, namely being height, because you'll have 5 girls in a row say height, right? You'll say five girls in a height. Do you think a guy would pop it because they said that?
I was about to say that. You think the next guy next to him is going to be like, well, you know, I seen that you popped on my man over here. Because he's a bit shorter.
So you can't deal with me.
So, you know, that shows a lack of kindness and understanding. So I had to pop on you because you weren't showing him kindness.
Because if I wasn't 6'4", I'd be in his position. It's like, why are you comparing your position to his? You're in a totally different scenario. And that's where I kind of laugh about like that type of thing of defending your fellow woman when it comes to women and men culture, when it's like, I don't give a damn if you know said whatever about him. Like, it doesn't affect me.
You know what also reminds me of? It just reminds me of when they have that bypass line for women, pretty women when they go into a club.
Yes, that's
and then it's like, well, sorry, the ugly ducklings, could you just stand over here on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Do you think the girl that's in the VIP line is going to be like, you know what? I don't like how you're treating the women over there. So
there you go.
Because of that, I'm not going to go into this club. I'm not going to do business over here.
Yeah, that's what they talk about, like this fake kindness or this fake awareness, because like you said, if it was a scenario like that, they're not gonna boycott the club because they never let the other girls in. You get what I mean? So you understand how it works.
Picking and choosing.
You know in what environments what works and what doesn't work. But you know, a lot of people like to pretend like this shit doesn't happen. People are always who they're gonna be, and in certain environments, especially dating, you're supposed to be honest. Because if you're not dating that person, what do you care about you saying she don't look good or she's too short, too fat, too this, too that? Like,
but I always feel the people that are so nitpicky on little things like that, find it the hardest to date. Because
100%. You can't be that.
They
nitpicky.
aren't able to adjust. They're not able to leave grace for the individual.
That's what I mean.
So that makes it very hard for their dating life, and that's why she's on the show.
Speaking of grace, like, should you have grace for a partner if you're with somebody? Like, should you have grace? Because I think that too is another reason why a lot of shit's failing. Is having that grace, like you said, the littlest of thing. Like maybe there's a scenario, because we're all emotional beings. So when you meet somebody, you can be the most sane person, right? Like, you do everything right. You go to work, you take care of the woman, do what you got to do in life. But then a scenario can happen where maybe, a road rage incident, for example, like something that'll just get you out of your character that you're normally used to. And say, for example, that happens, like a road rage, right? And you get out the car, you go, you're fighting in the street and stuff like that. Is the girl going to then leave you for something of that nature?
That's the thing, right?
Is that enough for you to be like, all right, well, he's a psychopath? Like we have to give grace for emotional...
Exactly.
Like emotional, like allowance. Like, I see it.
I mean, it doesn't even have to go as far as road rage. Let's say you're in a sports game, right? You're playing a soccer or a basketball, and you start swearing, and you start Going
emotionally
You're
charged.
getting emotionally charged. You're going after the ref. You're going after the players.
Yeah.
You're talking to them. You're yelling at them, doing the whole nine. She looks at you on the side and she goes, "Yeah, he looks like a hothead."
Oh, he's not so kind. I thought he was way more kind like that. He's swearing at everyone. He's doing this.
Yes, he's doing the most. I can't really deal with a guy like this. I need peace and tranquility in my home, and he doesn't look like that's what he is. But it's like, ma'am,
that's why you have to give grace to people in different environments. It's just like even when you're with a woman, she's gonna behave differently, according to certain things.
Yes.
Even if she's on her cycle, she's gonna behave differently when she's hormonal, right? So I think that's another thing we have to just talk about, just giving grace when you're dealing with someone or getting to know someone. I think this nitpicky culture, oh, you did that, oh, you did that. Like
strike one, strike two, strike
three, you're out. Like, and buddy, strike one, you're out. So I think it's too much nitpicky nonsense. And then people are just like, anything that doesn't align with what they got going on, they're like, yeah, I'm out.
Yes.
So the quick in and out type of relationship.
It's that switcheroony effect, switching
looking
one
for
person
perfection.
out, looking for perfection. I see something's wrong with you. You're defective. Next, and then so on and so forth.
Buddy, rinse it. You're right. Rinse and repeat. Go through the cycle.
Exactly. So let's get into the next part.
We got more to go.
Yep, we ain't done yet.
We ain't done.
Hello, welcome in. What's your name?
Yep.
My name is Chike.
Chike, how old are you?
26.
26?
Yeah.
And what do you do?
I'm a law student.
Oh, all right. You just started, you almost done.
I graduated in May, actually.
Oh, you're almost done.
Big 3 out, big 3 out.
Congrats.
Yeah.
All right, so what are some things you like to do for fun?
Listen to jazz. Like to watch movies, go on walks, things like that. Yeah, very chill guy. Yeah.
And now, what are some things you look for in a woman?
Someone who's honest, someone who's understanding, someone who's God-fearing, has a good relationship with God. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of your deal breakers?
Deal breakers, kids, cigarettes, not a relationship with God, someone's vindictive, and that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we did get some pop balloons. Let's go on over there, see why they ended up popping. Your name and age?
Hi, I'm Morgan, and I'm 24.
Nice to meet you, Morgan.
Morgan, why'd you end up popping your balloon?
I love the fit.
Thank you.
Your face is cute.
Thank you.
It's just the Neo hat, but other than that, you're a cutie patootie.
Thank you. It's the Neo hat. What's the Neo hat?
Like, Neo the singer?
Like so.
I think he wears like little flat brim hats though, right?
He wears some.
Okay. My bad. Okay. Neo hat. Okay.
So now is Morgan someone that's your type?
She is. Good height. Nice smile and everything like that. Very pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stop it.
Let's go down over here. Your name and age.
Hi, my name is Brianna. I'm 24.
Nice to meet you, Brianna.
And Brianna, why'd you end up popping your balloon?
It was just the outfit. That was the only reason. I really liked your answers, though.
The outfit. Okay. Got you.
Okay. What's the outfit given?
Literally clean outfit.
Like, kind of like Bobby Brown.
Bobby
like
Brown.
80s, 90s.
Oh,
Yeah. You had to play with that one.
All right.
You had to play with that one.
Now, is she someone that's your type?
She is. She's very attractive. Very. I like the tattoo. Was that tattoo or henna?
It's a tattoo.
Tattoo. I like the tattoo. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's go, Paul. Let's see this last one.
Let's go down here. Your name and age, and why'd you end up popping your balloon?
I'm Janiyah, 25.
Nice
it was the hat.
It's the hat. Here we go. Hat again. What are we doing?
No, I got a haircut.
Hello.
Okay, so really covered thoughts today
the
then.
hat because he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
The women are in their
right
20s.
Together.
I'll say the hat thing is because he's in his 20s and the women are in their 20s.
I told you the hat made him look older.
You did
I
say
told
that,
you
yeah.
because
That does make him look older.
the thing is, guys in their 20s aren't wearing that hat.
Like,
I never wore that hat.
He looks
man.
like he's 35. Like he looks like he's 35. That's
Like,
a 30.
that hat right there, buddy. That is in the 80s. That's an 80s look. That's when LL Cool J.
That's why she said Bobby Brown. She got him there. I'll be honest. She killed boy with the Bobby Brown joint.
Seriously, like what are we doing, man?
Like what are we doing? But to be honest, like the fit wasn't bad.
Okay,
it
but-
wasn't enough
okay,
to
but look-
diss.
look
Like
at
compared to what fits people can come up with and what I've seen, his fit was clean enough, dude. Takes off the hat, the fit's okay.
Let me tell you something.
The hat.
Why are we looking at the fit? The guy's a lawyer, for crying out loud.
That's the fun.
Did
yeah,
anybody hear
that's
that?
That's the funny thing. We're laughing at the hat.
We're laughing at the hat, but the man was actually a lawyer, so he has a legitimate career. He can handle a family.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know how he is.
And they never
personally.
mentioned nothing about him not looking good too. They were
So
saying the style.
they were so fixated on the hat, which also
the style,
tells you
the style,
the
I'm pretty
style,
sure.
the style.
Everything,
No,
how
I
put
think
it
the
together.
style himself, the style itself was well put together. He was wearing trousers, dress shoes.
No, but I think coupled with the hat, then it made him look.
It just
like
made him
he
look
was
older. That's all it did. But again, it shows the level of maturity of the women.
Well, they're in their 20s.
Yeah, but show the level of maturity and what they're looking for, because the whole purpose of the show is to look for love.
No, yeah.
They're not looking for love. They're looking for a good time.
They're looking for preference more than love. Like,
that's what I'm
like,
saying.
I prefer
a good time.
you don't have that hat. Like, you can
But
take
you
off
can-
the hat.
you can take
the
the hat
The hat
off,
is not something you can say is a deal breaker. You can ask him to take off his hat. I noticed they never asked those type of things.
They
like,
did at the end. They
at
did
the end,
ask
he
him.
said he could take off the hat. They never asked him specifically to take off that, and then he took it off. I wasn't nothing wrong. He had like some red hair. I don't know what he was up to.
Like a brown hair.
shit.
Yeah.
But point of what I was saying, like you were saying, sorry, that he was a law student and all of that. And then obviously the girls were just picking off like the hat. But it tells you how ridiculous some of the answers are on the show, right? Like you're talking about the show. The other guy saying the girl's face was wrinkled was more legit than what they're talking about this.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
They criticize him for saying her facial features, but I mean, could he have said it in a better way? I can agree that he could have.
What would he have said?
He could have just said, "She's just not my preference," instead of saying, "Because I'm just not attracted." And then when Arlette doubled down, it's just, you know how the comment sections eat you up on this.
But you know how
she's just not my preference.
Yeah, but the thing is, she's not gonna let you get away with that too. So some people already know she's not gonna let you get away with that. She's gonna let you get away with the 1, 2, and it's like, all right, I don't want to hear the same answer.
Okay, but that one specifically, because she has like a skin condition or some kind of disorder.
Now we're picking and choosing, dude. Some people are short. What can they do?
No, but
I've seen
guys,
got a height deficiency.
I've seen guys.
Want?
What I'm saying is, I've seen guys go in there, and they were able to be very general when it came to, so what's wrong with this woman? Oh yeah, no, she's very pretty. She's just not my preference.
Okay, I understand that. You could be more kinder in terms of how you say things, but at the same time, you got to be who you are, right? You got to be who you are. So how I see it, you could do things how people want you to do it, or you could do things the way you want to do it.
Yes.
If you're concerned about the opinions of others, then all the time you're going to play
Most
it
people
safe.
are.
Well, what I'm saying is, then all the time you're going to play it safe.
Yes.
Problems with playing it safe. You won't address things that need to be addressed the correct way. And the correct way means the direct way. That's what people don't realize in life. Sometimes you have to be direct so people are clear on what you're saying and what it is you mean. People can't be confused on where you stand in certain shit in life, right? Yes, this is just talking about being nice and saying a certain word, but let's just look at the bigger picture of being direct. You got to let people know what time it is. They have to understand what time it is. And we can't, sugarcoat, tippy toe to everything in life. Like if you're a man, you're a man. That's what we're taught. We're taught to stand on our square, right? So I feel like you got to just stand on your square, regardless what results it yields. You'll see what it yields. If you're too harsh, then you'll lose opportunities, right? But if you're just in that sweet spot of certain things, you're gonna be direct. Certain things you're gonna, be tactful. You'll be good. You'll be good. Because like I said, if someone can't even handle you being direct in a way that is not trying to belittle somebody, but just being asked a question, you answer directly. I think no one should be held to like a certain standard for that. You ask somebody, if someone asks you something, you respond. What do you want from them? They told you the truth. They don't need to be tactful or don't need to be kind or keep your feelings in their head. Not everybody thinks in terms of having that empathy for who they're talking or who they're describing, right? If you've seen someone that was fat, you're gonna say they're fat, right? If you were a fat person, you might describe them as beautiful or something like this. I don't know what you would describe them as. You see what I'm saying?
Well, what I will say is in life, we got to have a level of tact when we're speaking to people in any facet of life. So
you're saying you always have to guide the way you
have
speak.
to play the game, as they say. You got to play the game to a certain extent because there's certain rules to every society, and you don't need to necessarily agree to the rules, but to a certain degree, you got to play by the rules so that you're not ostracized, you're not you're gonna get criticized regardless.
So how about Trump? A guy like Trump.
Trump still in certain settings, he knows when to bite. He knows when to bite his tongue.
But at the end of the day, his reputation is his reputation.
His reputation is his reputation.
Yeah, so everyone knows he doesn't bite his tongue.
He does bite his tongue in certain
of course,
scenarios,
but what I'm saying is people understand his character.
On his
he won't bite his tongue in a lot of scenarios.
He doesn't bite his tongue as much as other people would.
That's what I'm saying.
Of
course, everyone has to be reasonable in certain things they say. But what I'm saying,
Trump's a rare case, and also,
but there's a lot of people.
But he also went through a lot. Like, okay, for guys that don't bite their tongue, you have to also look at.
I just told you, you're talking about playing it safe, and then other guys that are a little bit of risk takers that don't really.
But there's also people that are risk takers, but they're still able to go further by playing the game. But they're playing the game.
So you're saying,
different.
So you're basically talking about politics now, just like you got a politics.
Life is politics.
Mm-hmm.
Life is politics.
Because that's what politicians do.
In every country you go to, in every scenario you go to, when you're in school, it's about politics.
So you're saying it's better to keep a good reputation in any scenario than to have a bad one?
I'm not saying it's better to keep a good reputation instead of a bad one, because that's subjective to the individual if your reputation is bad or good, because some people will see you, it's point of views, it's perspective. Okay. So some people see you as good, and then others will see you as bad. Yeah. And the people that see your reputation to be a bad one, it might not even make sense for why it's a bad one. They might just not like you as a person, regardless. So it's very hard to determine
what's right and
what's wrong. Yeah, but when it comes to life in general, you definitely have to play the political game. As much as people say, "Oh yeah, only people that play the game are politicians." No, life in general is a game.
It's interesting. I know what you said, like what you're saying about that. Fortunately for some people, and I'll throw myself in this, and you probably can throw yourself in that, is that sometimes due to your upbringing, you're able to understand that. And obviously, if you educate yourself, like going forward with, reading books and hearing certain information about how to communicate and this type of thing, I think it's more easier for certain people to understand the social scenario they're in and understand what can be considered offensive and understand what is more neutral.
Yes.
So I think people that have that understanding go into environments knowing that, okay, people will take things this way. If I say certain things, people are going to take things this way because this is how they react to certain information that's controversial or against what they believe in. So you'll know, if I'm here, I'm not going to talk against X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that, my own opinions to myself.
Yes.
But when you're in an environment that you understand people are more direct and more, willing to be honest, then you'll come in that environment and be willing to be honest. Because I do have this same relationship with some friend groups that I have where we can be honest about, people's lifestyles, jobs, girls, anything of that nature. We can be quite personal and be quite offensive to one another, but we don't take it personally, where if I said that to a group of people that I'm not that close with, they would view it like, dude, like, what would you say to me?
That
was
messed up.
That was messed up. That hurt my feelings. Like, you might have to deal with that type of thing.
Yes.
So I think you're right. It kind of, you have to be, hopefully you have that skill set and you understand.
It's more about social awareness, and people don't.
Which is a skill.
Yeah. Social
that
awareness
needs to be worked on.
Is a skill that you need to work on, and you also have to train your eyes in being a good observer of your surroundings and what's going on and how people are behaving and how you can imitate those types of behavioral patterns, because it's very important for the survival of yourself. And if you don't know how to mimic those behaviors, you will be ostracized, you will be neglected, and you'll stand there or sit there and wonder, why is it that I'm not getting promoted? Why is it that no one's calling me to this party, or I'm not getting invited to this event?
So you're saying it's better to have selective honesty,
yes,
to stay in good standings with specific groups.
You try and stay in good standings or have a neutral standing in every group scenario that you can. but sometimes
I guess it depends on how much you care in the scenario and what the importance
the
is.
importance of it.
If you're at a job you don't care for, you're not going to care to have those type of social awareness, right? Like you might not be.
My thing is, when you run into people, you never know who can help you out in the future. So it's better to just be neutral or have good standings, because you never that person that you treated well or whatnot could somewhere down the line see you out there and be like, they remembered when you treated them like this.
So you think the wrinkly girl's gonna come after him?
I don't think the wrinkly girl's gonna come after him, but
she's gonna get killed on the internet.
But look, he's gonna get killed.
I don't.
He's gonna get killed on the internet for sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah, by women. I'm not saying men are gonna say anything. I think he's gonna get killed on the internet.
They're gonna say they knew it, but they would have not said it.
People have gotten killed for less than that. I mean, for crying out loud, Kevin Samuels said, you're average at best, and they destroyed him. This guy said
big
wrinkly.
facts. Big
He's
facts.
saying
Yeah, average at
face.
best is nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He told a girl that's below average.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah, she said a below average girl, because he was talking about a woman that had like 2 kids or 1 kid, and was like a single mom.
Exactly. So he wasn't even out of
deep
line.
in her 40s.
He wasn't even out of line.
He was not out of line.
Again, women,
and she wanted the most.
Women or people go after you for less than that. But I wanted to. We're wrapping it up now,
sir.
so I wanted to. What's your final thought on this podcast for today?
Well, I think like just going back to like the age conversation, I think it's just important for those that are aging not to really stress about aging. I think. For me, I look at aging like a level up. You know, in the game when you start at level 1 and then you keep going up in levels, you never retract to the lower levels, right? You only ascend, or you get stuck at a level. That's how I view it. So as long as you're going up in levels as your age goes up, you're in great standings.
Yes.
But the problem is when, your age is going, but your level is staying the same. That's when you face issues. So I think people that are aging, they have to look at their life and look at their habits and routines and see if there has been a change from their, say, 20s to their 30s. If there's not been any major changes, you have to reflect and you have to work on those things, because time is of the essence, as you know. From 20 to 30, it goes by quickly, and then from 30 to 40 is going to be double that speed. Just because you're getting older and your life's coming to an end, the fear is going to kick in. You understand that illness and ailment is on the horizon. So a lot of the time that pressure gets people scared. They don't want to really think of these things. But again, life, it goes on whether you want to think about it or not. So biggest thing is that when it comes to age, don't be nervous. Look at it as, a growing opportunity for yourself. Understand that every year is important, every day is important. And as you get older, you're actually gaining experience, almost like a video game. You gain experience to level up. That's what's happening within the year.
Exactly. I would say I would actually agree on that, everything that you said. I would just say that I think as you get older, one thing a lot of people need to start paying attention to a lot more is their health and wellness, where they are mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I know a lot of women tend to say that, when they hit their 30s. But I think for males, I think it's also important for them, because a lot of them don't focus on these type of things, right? They just kind of go along with whatever's going on. They go with the flow. Because I do run into men that, can be very emotional. They'll start talking about
especially
things.
At an older age.
Yeah, at an older age. They have a lot of burdens,
trauma.
And they have trouble, and then they'll come out and they'll say it, and you're just like, wow. But a lot of the time they keep it to themselves, So when
100%.
they could actually talk to someone and
get some advice, share
their story and get some advice, it's a burden off their back.
Yes, exactly.
So I would just say, just try to take care of yourself more so that you can live a longer life, and not to neglect that, even though you're working long hours or whatnot. When you do have time,
work on yourself.
Work on yourself.
I think that happens when you get older. When you're in your 20s, you're not thinking of working on yourself at all. You're just thinking, I'm in my prime. You're going. You're like a fresh engine. You're going. But I think when you get older, now you're starting to see the wear and tears of the engine. Like, the vehicle's wear and tear. You have to now maintenance it. You have to now add extra parts to make it sustainable
for the near future.
So I think that's the thing. You just adding new parts,
constantly
parts,
adding new parts.
Yeah, constantly
building
improving
as you fly it.
Modifications, whatever you do to get where you need to get to. 100%.
Just don't stop modifying.
That's it. Far from normal.
And that's all we got for today. This Far From Normal podcast, and we are out. Deuces.
Peace.